Hey guys, it's Merce. Welcome back to Harpies in the Trees, where I review horror books with a supernatural focus. I'm so glad that you guys liked the book versus film video I did last week for The Devil All the Time. I had a lot of fun with that. It was really interesting to revisit the book and also to finally watch the movie, which I had been putting off for a very long time because I was like, film adaptations are, you know, so I wasn't really looking forward to it, but it was actually not bad. It really did follow the story, but it did take out a lot that was, you know, the darker stuff. I think that they probably thought people wouldn't want to watch. I definitely want to do another one at some point. Someone suggested The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson versus the Netflix series, which I really loved. I mean, I can just rewatch that like no problem. It's just one of those things I can just have on. I really, really loved it. So if you guys have any suggestions, let me know down below in the comments and I'll see what I can do. I didn't have a second video for last week because I was focusing on the user submitted creepy story video. So I have 3 stories done. I have 3 more to go. I wasn't feeling very satisfied with what I had done. Like, I thought it looked good, but I was just like, yeah, it's not very exciting for me. And the animation style I'm doing is just kind of like what I do in my book reviews, where I have like, you know, like an image with like 1 or 2 elements that are doing something. And so I was kind of just exhausted and I just started experimenting and playing around, and I came up with a different type of style that I wanted to do. But now I had to apply them to the other segments, and yeah, so last week I was just excited because I found this like new thing and new way I wanted to tell the story for you guys. But then I was also like super exhausted, and so I didn't get anything else really done. I was really focused on that, but I was able to finish Ghost of Sleath and Phantom by Thomas Tessier. We're going to talk about these 2 books today. I'm very excited to talk about them. The next 2 books that I will be reading are Dark Ink. I don't really know how I'm going to like this book. I don't know if it's really for me, but I'm going to read it and see how it goes. And the other one is a short story collection called How to Make a Monster by Felix Demaro, who's super cool. I talk to him on Instagram every so often. He's a really cool and interesting dude. This is a little bit of a chonker. So I'm going to have to speed up my reading a little bit. Phantom begins with Ned. Ned is 5 years old and he's sleeping in his room. But he suddenly begins to feel very panicked, and he's hearing these noises and he can't really tell where they're coming from. It sounds like something dragging itself down the hallway, and he's very freaked out about this. After a few moments though, he realizes that it's probably one of his parents, because he can hear this kind of struggle to breathe, and his mother suffers from asthma. So it must be her. She must be going to the bathroom, maybe to get her inhaler or something. So that is what must be happening. Ned goes to investigate and he finds his mother in the bathroom, but she's slumped over. Her lips are bluish, and he can tell that there is something seriously wrong, and she's not breathing, and she might die. His father awakens at some point. He goes to the bathroom to check in on her and realizes, you know, she's in a bad state. She needs oxygen. His father leaves to call 911 and tells them that his wife has had a severe asthma attack and they have to come right away. The ambulance arrives and they don't think that his wife has had a severe asthma attack because she's not presenting like that. She's presenting as something else. She's presenting as someone who has, you know, taken a lot of drugs and just really can't function. She seems to be groggy and out of it. She's not responding. She doesn't seem to be very coherent. So the two guys are like, you know, I don't know. Like, they're being really judgmental and critical. And the husband is like, no, she has asthma. She's had a severe asthma attack. You have to take her. And they're just kind of really like hesitant to do this. At some point she comes to, but it's kind of really weird. It's like she can't talk really. She can't really answer questions. She seems to be not all there. But eventually she's able to spit out some words and she says, I'm okay, I just need a moment. They finally take her to the hospital and she ends up being okay, but Ned carries a lot of guilt, like a lot of guilt for not somehow protecting his mother. Because when she was having the asthma attack, when she was slumped over in the bathroom, when she was being observed by the two men from the ambulance, he couldn't do anything to help her or to protect her. And he felt like there was something like out there in his house that was causing this. So The Phantom is essentially a coming of age story that focuses on fear, and mostly fear through the eyes of Ned, who's 10 years old. And Ned is a very special kid because he's kind of like had this like weird spooky feeling connected with him, you know, since he was at least 5 years old that we know of. These are his phantoms, and he's kind of having to, you know, face them. It's all of these phantoms in life that we experience. These things that happen that maybe we can't explain, but maybe they don't necessarily have this like supernatural point, but maybe, you know, maybe they are leading us on some specific path and taking us somewhere. It's not so much a horror story though. It's a parable about facing your fears as a kid. And I think we can all remember those moments of being a kid and like hearing noises in the night, or, you know, having ominous feelings, or, you know, something that made us feel like we were sensing something that nobody else was sensing. And of course, because you're a kid, nobody believes you, right? Nobody. Ned does make friends with Peeler and Cloudy, which to me was really the highlight of the book. There were two highlights actually. Peeler and Cloudy are two men. I believe they're probably in their 60s, and they kind of just hang out at Peeler's bait house shack. You know, it's just a little tiny shack, and all those guys do is fish and hang out. And Peeler drinks beer all day, and you know, and Cloudy you know, tries to fix broken electronics, and they just hang out. I mean, it sounds pretty cool, you know. And it's a great place for Ned to come and explore. There's so many things there to check out. So he becomes really good friends with them, and it's so fun, and I just enjoyed so much their relationship with Ned. They treated Ned so well. They were kind of like these grandfatherly-like figures, you know, but they were a little bit more honest with Ned, and they treated Ned a little bit more like an adult than his parents did, so he always felt like he could talk to them a little easier. The other thing I really liked was the adventure. Ned explores this ruin. It's a spa. It's from back in the day. I think its heyday was like in the 1930s, and he's exploring it, and it's really awesome. Like, just the way that it's described, you just get lost in it with Ned, and it just sounds awesome. It's a leisurely read too, so there's a lot of building of scenes and a lot of building of thought. So, you know, we're getting a really good look at wherever we're at, and also whatever the mindsets are of our characters, especially Ned and his parents. There's also a lot of conversations about, you know, worrying about Ned, you know, and also the parents' relationship issues between themselves. And I think that was done pretty well. It really felt like that kind of typical family from this time period. This is written in the early 1980s, you know, where the dad is like the provider and the protector, and he has all the knowledge and the reason, you know, and the mom is just sort of like, you know, she needs protecting, and she needs someone to tell her, you know, what makes sense and what doesn't, and when she's just being hysterical, you know. So it's kind of like that relationship, even though the dad was not like malicious or anything. He just really thought that he was doing his job. They have like this difficulty talking about Ned, especially when Ned starts getting to this place where he starts acting really, he's being affected by this these phantoms that are happening, and they don't know how to deal with him. And the mom is like, something's happening, but I don't know what to do. And the dad is like, you know, boys will be boys type thing. So they're not able to really agree on much of anything. So that comes across really, really well. There are things that are sort of implied or hinted at or teased at in the book that make it seem like there's going to be something really spooky or horror-ish, you know, at some point. And those don't really come to fruition because the story it's not really about that. It's about something else. So I was a little disappointed in that, but the story was still really lovely and interesting. It's something sort of in between horror and maybe weird fiction, maybe. I gave Phantom 3.5 stars. The Ghosts of Sleath is about a skeptical psychic investigator who is working with a paranormal association who tries to prove the existence of ghosts or activity of ghosts. But they hired Ash because he's cynical and he's skeptical. So they wanted to have someone like him on their team because it made them a little bit more credible if they also had somebody who wasn't a total believer. So now Ash has been asked to go to this place called Sleath, and it's a village that is supposedly having haunted activity everywhere. So he heads over there and he meets up with the vicar who is supposed to give him all of the details about what's happening in his village. But the vicar is a little confused because he never asked Ash to come. The vicar's daughter is the one who reached out to the association and sent in a request. So right off the bat, there is obviously some issue, and whatever is happening in this town is not going to come easily to Ash, and he's really going to have to dig and find out what happens. So he begins his work by interviewing the villagers and to see if they're experiencing anything and what's going on here. There was recently a few deaths, and the importance about these deaths are that the dead are coming back. Like, all of them are coming back. But it only just started recently. It's not something that's been in the town for a long time. It's not the history. So why are these people seeing their loved ones? So this book is actually one of the first books that I got in one of my first book hauls that I did. I mean, I've had this book forever, and I don't know what really propelled me to get it and what then repelled me not to read it. But I'm so glad that I did read it because I found out that yes, I love Herbert's writing. I really do like the way that he writes. And I especially really respected his really like kind of edgy ghost manifestations that he kind of had here. They're just a little bit more wonderfully awful than most ghosts can be. I don't know. But I really, really enjoyed that. I also really enjoyed this idea of there being a village haunted, you know, like a whole entire village. And that means that there's all these secrets everywhere and we need to find out, you know, what they are. So along with it being this ghost story that is being led by a skeptical and cynical ghost hunter, which is totally my favorite type of paranormal investigator, there's the mystery of that. There's him. There's, you know, the supernatural aspects that are going on. There's the history of the town. There's a lot of stuff. There's just so many things to discover. So it was really fun. A few ghostly surprises in the sense of what it was, you know, like, I mean, there was one ghost where I was just like, oh, you know, and I always love those type of surprises because I feel like, you know, you go to places with ghosts, right? It's like you either kind of go in this like, oh, the mourning mother, the mourning bride, you know, or, you know, just something like kind of beautiful and like whatever, or you go in the direction of like something ghoulish, right? But what I really appreciate a lot And like what gets me really, really excited is just really fucked up ghosts. Like just image-wise, you know? I think that indie horror games have some really just amazing ideas for creepy, spooky things. You know, they just come up with some really cool ideas. And so I'm always like looking for that in books. And in Ghost of Sleath, there's some imagery in here that's like, wow, you know, just so cool. So I really appreciated that, and that really impressed me. I felt that the writing was really nice. It was just easy to read. And what's interesting about it is it's not written in a way that it doesn't seem like it's gonna get grotesque or really weird or something. It just does. And I like that too. And this has like some gothic elements. We have a old mansion that is kind of a ruin at this point. So we have two ruins, one in Phantom and one here. And we also have this kind of gothic inheritance that's through the town as well. So that was really cool. There's also like a lot of scenes of activity. So, you know, what is cool is we get to see a lot of the activity that's happening for a lot of the villagers. So like I said, it has a lot of activity in it, which is super fun. It was just like something that took me by surprise too, because I didn't think I was actually going to enjoy it. I'm not really sure why I thought that, but I wasn't sure, but I really did. Like I really liked it. It didn't blow my mind though. You know, I didn't feel like my whole world has changed or anything like that, but it's a solid, you know, haunted, supernatural ghost story that has some edge to it and, you know, some weirdness, which is cool. I do want to mention one thing though, because like, I don't know how you guys feel about long ass sex scenes in books, but I know that I don't really tend to read them. You know, like I kind of just skim through them because it's just not that interesting to me. But this, there was like a 5-page, oh my God, a 5-page, like 5-page sex scene in here. And it was just, it was so much. It was so much. Like the whole time, like this was me. Her hand moved to his cheek, and he pressed his lips to hers once more, relishing the soft, warm moistness he found there. He felt her hand slip behind his neck, pulling him down so that their kiss became hard, a swift passion rising from their closeness. Her lips parted with their embrace tightened, and their bodies grew rigid, the pressure almost desperate. The tips of their tongues touched, and Ash felt his muscles quiver as if with mild shock. He heard her faint. So I had a lot of fun with this. I thought it was an interesting story. And actually this is a series that everybody was telling me. So the first one is Haunted. I don't know what the third one is. I'm sorry, I can't remember. I'll put it somewhere. So I'm definitely gonna get the other two because this was a lot of fun. Like I said, it wasn't like mind-blowing. It's not gonna change your world or anything, but it was fun. And that's, you know, that's awesome. So I gave this 4 stars. So if you liked this review, please like and comment below. Tell me what your thoughts are. Herbert is a household name, so I think almost everyone, including myself now, have read a Herbert. I know that the Rad series is one of his favorite ones you guys are always recommending to me. I'm not a creature feature person though. I just don't like, I love Rads too, so I don't think that's gonna be for me. But I will definitely read all of his supernatural stuff. I'm real excited about that. I always get really excited when I can add an author in that, like, you know, in the place of your mind where you're like, ooh, well, if I don't know what to look for in books, I know I can look for these authors because most likely I will like, you know, whatever I get. And that's a good feeling. I love that feeling. So I hope you guys are doing good. I hope everything is going well for you wherever you are at in the world. Please take care of yourselves, watch out for each other, and I will talk to you next time.